Today we're going to be looking at problems that involve proportional reasoning. We're going to illustrate this problem using a table of values. So let's begin by looking at the question. The D'Souza family is going on a trip to Prince Edward Island and back. It is 1,600 kilometers from home to PEI. Determine the total cost of the gas for the D'Souza family's trip to PEI and back if the cost of gas is 128 cents per liter and the car uses 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Show your work. So let's begin by underlining some important information that might help us. We know that the trip is 1,600 kilometers one way, and we know that the car uses 9.8 liters for every 100 kilometers. We also know that the cost of gas is 128 cents per liter. So we can see that there is a relationship between liters and kilometers and cents and liter. So we're going to set up a table of values showing these relationships. So let's begin by looking at the relationship between liters and kilometers. I'm going to put kilometers in the left column since this is my independent variable. And I'm going to put liters in the right column since this is the dependent variable. The amount of liters depends on how many kilometers you travel. So what data do I already have to fill in this table? Well, we know that for every 100 kilometers, the car uses 9.8 liters. But we need to calculate how many liters the car uses for 1,600 kilometers. What if I asked you to calculate how many liters the car uses for 200 kilometers? Well, what did I do to the number 100 to get to 200? I doubled it. 100 plus 100 is 200. So what would I need to do to the amount of liters? I would also double it. So let's do 9.8 plus 9.8. If I'm doubling the number of kilometers, I'm going to double the number of liters. 9.8 plus 9.8 is 19.6. So for every 200 kilometers, the car uses 19.6 liters. Think about how this information can help us. How about if I asked you to find how many liters the car uses for 400 kilometers? Once again, I'm doubling my amount. So for every 200 kilometers, we use 19.6 liters. So once again, I'm going to take 19.6 and double it. 19.6 plus 19.6 is 39.2. So for 400 kilometers, the car uses 39.2 liters of gas. What if we were to complete this table by counting by 200s? 200 is a factor of 1,600, so I know if I skip count by 200s, eventually I'll get up to 1,600. So let's redraw this table. In the left column of my table, I'm counting by 200. Every time I increase by 200, what happens to the amount of liters? The amount of liters is increasing by 19.6, since for every 200 kilometers, you use 19.6 liters. So how would I figure out how many liters the car uses for 600 kilometers? That's right, we're going to add 19.6 again. 19.6 plus 39.2 equals 58.8. Let's complete this table by adding 19.6 every time we add 200 kilometers. Try it. Did you get the same answers? Check your table to make sure that the answers are the same. Well, what information do we need to answer this question? Well, since we know that they travel 1,600 kilometers one way, we can look at our table to see how many liters of gas they use for 1,600 kilometers. We can see that the car uses 156.8 liters for every 1,600 kilometers. But how far does the family travel altogether? We know that it's 1,600 kilometers one way, but they're going to PEI and back. So that would be 1,600 kilometers one way plus another 1,600 kilometers the other way for a total of 3,200 kilometers. Well, if the car uses 156.8 liters one way, it's going to use 156.8 liters the other way. So how many liters of gas does the car use altogether? 156.8 plus 156.8 gives us 313.6 liters. Therefore, the car uses a total of 313.6 liters of gas. But what was this question asking us to find? We needed to find the total cost of the gas. Now we know the total amount of liters of gas. Can we find the total cost? Well, we know that there must be a relationship between the cost of gas and the amount of liters you use. So let's build a new table relating cost and liters. This time, I'm going to put liters in the left column and cost in the right column, since the cost depends on how many liters of gas the car uses. We need to calculate the cost. Well, we do know that when the car uses 1 liter of gas, you spend $1.28. But we need to figure out how much it costs when the car uses 313.6 liters of gas, since this is the total amount of gas needed by the D'Souza family. So let's see how these numbers are related. How is 1 related to 313.6? What can I do to 1 to get 313.6? We can multiply by 313.6. Well, if I multiply the number of liters by 313.6, I need to multiply the cost by 313.6 as well. 1.28 times 313.6 is equal to 401.408. But since we're dealing with cost and money, we need to round this to the nearest penny. If I look at the number next to this, it's greater than 5. That means I need to round up. $401.41 would be to the nearest penny. What if I asked you to find out how much it costs for, let's say, 100 liters? 1 times 100 is 100, so I need to multiply 1.28 times 100 as well. That would give me $128. What if I asked you to find the cost for 200? 400? Think about all the information you can gather just from this table. But the information we needed was right here. Therefore, the D'Souza family spends a total of $401.41 on gas for their trip to PEI and back. We've just solved this problem using tables of values, but can you think of other ways we could have solved this problem? Check out our playlist to see different strategies.